Howdy, friends. Welcome to Repertoire. This is a show about the ideas, experiences, philosophies, and rituals that shape who we are as chefs and cooks. I'm Sammy Mansour, Michelin award-winning chef, cookbook author, and food activist. My life revolves around food and cooking, and I love geeking out about the craft and the culture. In each episode, I travel somewhere new to sit down with chefs and food personalities on their turf for honest, unfiltered conversations. We talk shop, we go deep, we cook. Today, I'm in Durham, North Carolina, a city deep with Southern roots, a rich African-American cultural legacy, and a forward-looking energy that's made it one of the most dynamic food destinations in the South. In a part of town where the scent of hot oil and fresh herbs hangs in the air, Saltbox Seafood Joint has built a reputation for serving North Carolina seafood in its purest, most honest form. The food here is shaped by the coast, rooted in heritage, and cooked with soul, which brings me to my guest today. Ricky Moore is a James Beard award-winning chef, cookbook author, and proud North Carolina native. A U.S. Army veteran and Culinary Institute of America graduate, he's cooked in fine dining kitchens across the globe, but it's here at Saltbox where he distilled decades of training into something beautifully direct: seafood cooked with soul, skill, respect, and a deep love for feeding his community. Over the years, we've worked side by side on sustainable food systems policy as co-founders of the Coalition for Sustainable Aquaculture, and he even hosted me and my wife Cassidy here for a cookbook pop-up last year. He's gone out of his way for me and so many others because that's just who he is. One of the most outgoing, best dressed, flyest, triple OG chefs I know. Chef, it is always a joy to be in your presence. Thanks for making the time to be here with me and welcoming me in your house.
Well, Sammy, what a wonderful intro. As I know the person who you are, you dig deep, you go deep, you're not afraid, you're going to put it out there. And I so appreciate you calling me up and just say, hey, man, can I come shoot this episode with you? And without hesitation, yes, of course. You know, there's certain people, Sammy, in my circle, or not my circle, but of this circle, that I really appreciate. And I appreciate the person that you are and how you traveled and moved around and ascended and shifted and changed and pivoted. And, you know, everything that you've done has always been very authentic to
Thank
me.
you, man.
And I appreciate that.
Man, thank you.
I'm that dude. I don't hang around people who I deem a little bit shaky. Okay. And I don't mean no harm for anybody. That's who I am and how I've evolved as a individual, as a professional. So, you know, I appreciate you, man. So thank you for having me. I am anticipating a wonderful conversation. I'm anticipating a meaningful conversation. I'm anticipating continuously bonding with you personally, but also hopefully in this conversation, we're dropping some jewels here and there.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to some gems.
We're speaking some truths here and there, you know, and also for me, you know, every opportunity I involve myself in, I need to know that there's some learning for me in it. So
Yes,
that's where
chef.
I'm at.
Likewise.
Thank you for having me.
Man, look, everybody that's listening and watching obviously can just see from how you reacted to that intro, how just cool of a human you are. You're just so wise and generous and,
Yeah.
and kind and outgoing, man.
Yeah.
And it really gave me goosebumps to get a compliment from you. I'm not surprised that's who you are, but
Yep.
also it means a lot because I know that you don't just give it out.
Right.
Right. And so for all of you catfish Billies out there, this is the third installment of our National Seafood celebration and festivities.
Yes.
It is October.
Yes.
I came up to Durham because this is in my opinion, humbly speaking, the finest of seafood joints
That's right.
around the country.
That's right. That's
So
right.
this was not by coincidence that I'm here with Chef Ricky, and you know, you've probably gone over this a million times. You won't
Yeah.
be bored of it, but there's still a lot of people out there that don't even know what the heck North Carolina bonefish is. And I
Right.
want to jump off and ask you, as someone who is a seafood evangelist, if you
Yes.
would give me your bonefish sermon.
Oh dear. Oh boy. Can the church say amen? Let's start it off with that.
Amen.
So first off, I love what you said. And I want to speak to one nugget of what you just said about joint. Okay. When I initially opened up Saltbox, I was telling myself, I am retiring from the restaurant business and moving into the joint business. Okay, let's define that. Everybody knows or has a reference point to what that means in terms of a local eatery in a community, a joint, a neighborhood spot, the hole in the wall, the spot to go to, the one little restaurant that the community protects and also pays homage to. It's the gift that they give a out of towner, like, yo, this is my spot right here. You know what I mean? So thank you for saying that's what it is. It's a joint, and I want people to recognize Saltbox as such. Now, bonefish, my sermon, the gospel of croaker and spot and butterfish, these are the books, if you will, of this. But, I just want to speak to how I grew up eating seafood, and it's what seafood was to me in my household. There was nothing filleted at all, right? Everything that we caught, and I remember reference my grandmother, Bernice McLeese, that was her name. And we used to go out to the Neuse River, and she had a very fundamental standard rig. It was a line with a bamboo pole. That's it, with a hook. No special rigs, no anything. That was, frankly, the grandmother time that I spent with her. All right. And she would go out, we would go out in the afternoons when it was cool, and she would throw her line out, and we would catch exactly that. A croaker, a spot here and there.
Mhm.
We didn't fill up a cooler. We filled up a bucket. It was just enough to, fry up, and serve with, white bread and hot sauce and vinegar. No lemon. That was uppity. We made lemonade out of the lemons. No, we had vinegar. It was cheaper. So, for me, this idea of really celebrating whole bone-in fish, and I like to delve deeper into it because I feel like, culturally as a country, that has not been put forward. If you go outside of the country, a lot of other cultures, they celebrate fish being served whole,
Mhm.
and in certain parts of the country, it still is, but it's very sort of micro-regional. You hear of people eating whole catfish, you hear of people eating that, or if you go upscale in in an upscale style of restaurant, you're going to see things like dorade, you're going
Yeah.
to say bronzino,
Yeah.
we're going to see whole red snapper. But if you put croaker, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a marginalization of a certain species. And I don't think it's deliberate. I just think it's not mainstream,
Yeah, that's a really interesting point because, like, I'll usually keep a 1.5 to 2 pound whole fish
yeah,
on my menus in LA,
yeah,
and it is very uppity. I mean,
yeah,
you're for starters, it's going to cost about $49 to $62, depending on the year of time and what
that's
the
right.
species is,
That's
and then
right.
the actual weight.
Yes.
And so you've got to be pretty affluent to be able to purchase that.
Amen.
And with that comes people that I think are willing to dine outside of their comfort levels
Right.
for an experience. It's rare that we will get somebody that asks us if we could actually fillet it for them,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people don't know how to eat it.
Yeah.
And you got to be like, hey, yo, remember to flip it now because there's that much more meat on
On
the
the other side. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so
I so love what you just said, man. There's folk who are culturally conditioned. And that's what it boils down to. That's not a negative thing. It's like, hey, if you didn't have a reference point to eating whole fish in your household or somewhere around in your family unit, then you won't know. and that's fine. All I know is that for me, particularly here in North Carolina, where we have a beautiful coastline,
Hmm.
I have spent time really wanting to make sure that we celebrate the not only for its barbecue but for its seafood. You know,
Yeah.
the conversation always ends up being, you know, South Carolina, which much love for South Carolina, and then we jump over North Carolina, and then we go to Virginia, and we go to Maryland.
Mm.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what about North Carolina? Whoa, we got a beautiful brackish environment that all
Mhm.
the species hang out in, and we never get talked about it. So for me, as I thought about the idea of opening a seafood concept and what that meant for me, just from an educational perspective, I wanted to really talk about, like, all right, croaker, spots, hogfish, butterfish. All those fish are super delicious,
Mhm.
and you don't see them on mainstream menus. Obviously, I know why. Okay, but I felt the need to really showcase that. So my sermon, my evangelistic approach to teaching people is like, always just try it. I know some people just are not used to navigating around these small fish, but try it once. And the term fried hard, I want to be clear about what that means. It's a degree of doneness. Okay, that's what fried hard means to me. It doesn't mean overcooked. It doesn't mean dry. It doesn't mean anything. That means
Mhm.
cooking it to a level that it has texture, and then you can navigate that fish and enjoy it the way it needs to be enjoyed,
Mhm.
i.e., crunching down on the dorsal fins and the tail
Mhm.
is super delicious, man, particularly on a large croaker or spot. So I just want to make sure that people understand. I never want to force feed anybody knowledge or information. I am always in the spirit of positioning it for people to want to learn. Okay, so obviously, fried whole fish is pretty standard. So now I do it a la plancha. It can be
See,
done.
see, papa. And
Yes,
it's delicious, and I love it. I
absolutely.
love that. I love because I want to get both, and when I come
Yes,
here, I do.
right, 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 right.
Because it opens up the door to different species. Like,
Yeah,
you know, man, like I could get bluefin tuna here
yes,
and then fried croaker,
yes.
and that's the best of both worlds for me,
Thank you for
man.
saying that. Yeah, yeah. I often, those who enjoy eating the whole fish, they order it specifically, and this is from the old timers, right? You got people who grew up eating whole fish and they said, make sure you split mine down the back. Now, that person know what they're talking about. Because what that means is the reason why we split it down the back is to access the meat easy.
Mm.
That's the reason behind that. It's not about just some preference with it. No, it's like, okay, I grew up eating this way, and the filet meat is easily accessible, when I eat it. So, I am Sammy, just so you know, man, we have a whole fish on the menu all the time, and I just started putting whole flounder. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's important to me.
How big are those?
It's gonna be like a pound and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, and I fry it. Somebody wants it grilled, we'll do that. But you know, I just want people to enjoy what it means to eat whole fish some more.
And
Not
there's a
again.
lot of like dorsal fin.
Absolutely.
Like the flounder's cool because the whole body of the fish on both sides, right, are
Yes.
like surrounded with that crispy fin,
Absolutely.
which is a treat.
Yeah, yeah. That's the, once again, using your hands, interactive, get into it. This is not precious, but when it's done correctly, super delicious.
I think
So,
sometimes we have to connect dots for people as chefs,
yeah.
and for me, well, just to back up really quickly,
Mhm.
everything that I know about bonefish was taught to me from you,
Yep.
Ricky.
I appreciate that.
I asked you a million questions.
Yeah.
You gave me really great answers. I took notes. I
Right.
still needed to know more.
Right.
So, and the the thing about North Carolina seafood being overlooked, like, yeah, maybe that was true like 10 or 15 years ago,
Yeah.
but you literally are the guy
Right.
that put it on the map and that changed that. And you're
Yeah.
not even on the coast,
Right.
which is crazy. But also it makes sense.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
you're in a major metropolitan area here,
Yes. Yes.
not just Durham, but in the heart of RDU, the Triangle.
That's right.
Huge
Yeah.
area,
Yeah.
cultural hotbed, and you're bridging the past with the present and looking to the future. And so, but to give you those flowers, man, like you got that conversation going, and it's crazy how one person can do that.
Right.
It takes a lot of commitment, dedication, hard work, and integrity, right?
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Nope.
And maybe that wasn't even something that you thought you were possible, achieving.
Yeah. Yeah. Sammy, once again, a lot of how I move is intentional activities. Time is very valuable to me. It always has been. I was taught at an early age, just fundamentally, don't waste time. Don't waste any time. Whatever you do, be intentional about doing it. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you're going to, like even Michael Jordan missed free throws, man, but you're still the greatest, man. So, you're going to miss some free throws every now and again, but do things intentional, And so for me, man, I always thinking about, if I'm going to do something, what else is behind it? Obviously, it's a business. Obviously, this is an enterprise that is here to, frankly, help feed my family and feed myself and take care of my family and myself, in addition to my community. Okay, that's what it's for. But I think there needs to be another engine with that as well. Another thing that drives this, why you get up every morning to do it. It's an action, it's an activity. And you need something to keep you going and keep you inspired. So for me, I just thought about the idea, and it was very organic, man. I had no intention of opening a seafood restaurant. When I first decided that I'm looking for a business opportunity for myself. It was just, okay, I'm in this space now. What does that mean for me? I can do a plethora of things, but the location dictated what it was going to be. And that felt right.
Smart move.
Yeah, it just felt right for me. Also, Sammy, I would say this, man, I took a trip to Singapore. And frankly, when I took that trip, it was the trip was for a job interview in Dubai. And super interesting. Wow, man, this is in 2008, 2009. But I took a trip, man, and I thought it was a joke. Okay, I thought it was like, hey, they're gonna get me over here, man, and fucking start hunting me or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, let me CC my wife, man, and make sure she knows what's going on. But the guy engaged. This was during the headhunter time, where headhunters look for executive chefs. So the job or the position was, they wanted an American chef to go to Dubai to open up an American brasserie. That was the job. All right. So I was, my name got put in the hat, and they called me up or emailed me, and they wanted me to do a tasting. I said, cool, I'll do a tasting. And I said, where are we going to do the tasting? They said, in Singapore. I said, what? Singapore? Like, wait a minute, is this for real? So after validating everything, found out everything was good, everything's good to go, they sent me a ticket, first class, flew me over. So I was over there for 2 weeks. Me and another gentleman was doing the tasting. And after we did the tasting, we didn't hear anything else from him. So we was over there for 2 weeks hanging out. So we had a chaperone. Wow. And I was over there, man, just eating my way through the city. I was eating my way through the hawker stalls and little crooks and crannies and shit. And I went to a place, it was so beautiful. Let me share this with everybody. It was so fucking beautiful. So I saw some of the most beautiful people in this joint that only served chicken wings, okay? And let's imagine this. You got beautiful, people. I mean, they could come off a runway, man. And this place only served beautiful cocktails and fried chicken wings. That's it. And look at these beautiful people using their hands, gnawing on chicken bones. And they weren't trying to be cute either. They was eating all the meat off. I was like, yo, man, this is such a beautiful situation. So I sat there for a long time and hung out, man. But as I went through the city, man, I'm like, yo, I would love to have a little small joint, just like these little stalls, where they do one or two things deliciously. That's it. That would be my freedom or my entry level into this entrepreneurial world. Okay. And so I kept those experiences with me, man, when I came back. And I thought about it. I said, man, where in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area was going to find a place like this? And I was doing recons. Okay, I'm a military guy, so I know what it means to do recons, right?
Mhm.
You go check out the environment, see what's what, that sort of thing. And so I was driving around Chapel Hill. That's where I live, all right? And obviously Durham is close by, so I drove around and went to Raleigh. But I found a little place here in Durham, right on the side of the road. It used to be a hot dog hamburger stand, your typical sort of stand that's typically in this area in specific neighborhoods where they serve hot dogs and hamburgers. And the place was, had somebody in and they was operating it, but they weren't interested in business. They would bring a TV every morning, just to sit and watch it as opposed to worrying about what it means to run the business. And I sat and watched that place, Sammy, studying it, okay, from morning, noon, and night, okay? I just wanted to see the traffic patterns. I wanted to understand the who was walking past it every night and every day. I wanted to know who lived in the neighborhood, the historical components of it. I wanted to understand all of that. And so one day I just went to the landlord and she said, I asked her, hey, I'm looking to open a little restaurant. Are you willing to rent to me? She says, are you going to pay the rent? I said, yes, ma'am, I am. So she kicked out the ones that was in there because they weren't paying the rent.
Mhm.
So my timing was perfect. It wasn't about me kicking nobody out. It was about, there's an organic situation that just happened. They weren't paying their rent. It had nothing to do with me. I was willing to do it. So, that was sort of like the beginning of Saltbox. And I often like to reference it because I was in a time and place where I was bored, Sammy. I was bored being an executive chef here, an executive chef there. It got, I don't know, regular.
Mhm.
Didn't mean anything to me anymore. It was mechanical. Like, okay, I can open up a new restaurant. I can set up a menu. I can get some immediate praise in the beginning, and then what? Okay, been there, done that. Okay, this is what I like to call Saltbox is my apprenticeship to entrepreneurship. And the reason why I reference it like that is because it was a small enterprise. I could do everything myself. And that's where I was at professionally. I needed that in my professional life to establish, initiate, and bring something to life. And I didn't want it to be in the realm of, or the spaces I've spent my entire career in, fine dining. I didn't want that, not because I wasn't able to do it, but it just didn't feel organically what I wanted to do at that moment. Those stalls in Singapore inspired the hell out of me. Like, people waiting in line to get noodle dishes.
Something was in the air around the 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take away from your unique encounters
Yeah.
and how you interpreted your experiences in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But this was an era for me that opened my eyes up to kind of cooking more simple, delicious, craveable food.
Yeah.
As well. And
Yeah.
that was what I did at my first restaurant.
Yeah.
It was like, we didn't call ourselves a gastropub.
Yeah.
We called ourselves a bar room.
Yeah.
A neighborhood bar room.
Yeah.
But I was pushing myself to do like fucking really cool bar food, but not to the point of where it wasn't like, it was grimy.
Yeah.
I became like, I got a reputation because I was filthy.
Yeah.
I put too much cheese on stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the type of shit you want.
Yeah.
Right. But it was good cheese. It was like
Right.
fucking Vermont, like cave aged, like Alsatian style raclette.
Lovely.
That you know what I mean?
Delicious.
But so I think that there was the 2008 recession. A
Yes.
lot of chefs got sick of fine dining.
Yes.
Fine dining died in many ways.
That is correct.
Never really came back.
Yeah.
And then you have all this skill, right?
Yes.
Like, which kind of brings us to the repertoire. I mean, the whole conversation we're having is about the repertoire. It's mental, it's skill, it's physical, it's soul, it's everything. But like, you have this fine dining repertoire and you're just bored of it.
Yeah.
And then you realize you want to go do something else and learn something else because, I think that's part of how that's how we amass such an interesting repertoire that ultimately allows us to not be bored. It's
Right.
like we have to keep pushing ourselves
Right.
to be challenged
Right.
and to continue to learn.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and at this point, failure is inevitable. And
Standard. Yeah. Yeah. You got to
it's just about being like, all right, fuck, that sucks. What did I do wrong? How do I make sure I don't do that again?
Yeah. It's the idea of embracing failure. Like you're thinking about something outside of what you normally do. You've never done it before. You've conceived a thought, but you've never done it before. You have to embrace failure. Giving up is a problem, but the failure part, cool. You can recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy. But once you conceive the thought of, I want to move in this direction or this pathway, then that's it. You can get there. You thought about it. Okay, now embrace failure. Going to happen. You got to have the stamina. Got to keep pushing. It will get you there. It's like, sometimes I think about, and I share this with my kids a lot of times too, Sammy. It's like, let's wait your turn. Your turn is coming.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you do the activities required and stay in the pathway of success, wait your turn. Don't worry about, I tell them this, the art of waiting your turn. That's all you got to do.
Mm.
If you're doing your work, you're doing everything you're supposed to be do, understand the art of waiting your turn. Your season coming.
Yeah, I love that. And so that makes me think of something that stuck with me,
Mm-hmm.
a bit of a mindset. And I think that combined with this is like the ultimate, because I feel like my mindset's missing something.
Yeah.
And so the wait your turn,
Yeah.
your season is coming, stay on the path, finishes, it turns it into a complete mantra, so to speak. And that is just that, like, if you want to be successful, you've got to be outgoing.
Yeah.
Right. You've just got to be outgoing, and you've got to put a ton of intentions,
Yes.
not ideas, like actual physical intentions, spoken word, emails, go to events, whatever it is, volunteer, do a ton of shit for free with zero expectations.
Right.
Because if you go do things like that and you expect to get rewarded, you will fucking quickly stop doing it because you don't get rewarded.
Yeah.
That's just what it takes. You have to be that way.
That's right.
And eventually things come your way.
Mm-hmm.
Things you never even were looking for, right?
Right.
Or maybe 10 years ago, you wanted to make this happen and you couldn't. And then you forgot about it and it comes back to you and you're like, dang, right? But it's kind of like, you can't chase that stuff.
No.
Actually, Jadakiss says, as soon as you start chasing the money, that's when the money starts running.
That's right.
And that's kind of, not that what we do is about the money, but it's the same concept.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely, man. I think that was a great segue, man. I 30 plus years in the business, and Sammy, I'm gonna be blunt. I'm not burnt out. I'm not burnt out. And I don't want to say that to be braggadocious, but I believe what I've done is, man, position myself, man, this is it. Do I have the skill set and the knowledge to do other activities or other professions? Probably so, but it wouldn't feel natural.
Mm-hmm.
This hospitality business first, is something that I've learned to love. I've learned to appreciate. I've learned to make money from. I've learned to teach from. I've learned to inspire people from. You know what I mean? So I'm in a good place, man. Once again, I just want to say that outside of everything our industry, all of us in the industry, the things that we've gone through in the past 10 to 15 years, from the transition on how consumers are eating now, and also how, what it means to bring in employees and teach line level employees and intermediate leaders in your business. All of this has changed, man. And those of us who are still in it and still inspired, man, bravo. I just want to say that, man, because
Yes, chef.
it is hard. Okay. Right now, the restaurant business is hard as hell. I don't care how small or big. I don't care how skillful you are, how many beard awards you have, any of that. This shit is real, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I just want to, you know, kind of put that out there and to let people know anything that you do that is challenging, man, you have to have a passion. Passion is real. I know a lot of people want to say other things or they have different opinions or can debate me on that, but
I think those people just don't have the passion.
yeah.
So they can't, you know, it's kind of like faith. Like you either have it or you don't.
That's it.
Don't argue with me about it if I've got it.
Word up. Like, yo, man, like faith moves you when you don't have no answers. Passion in this business keeps you going when sometimes shit gets so crazy.
Mhm.
And we've all learned it based on the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We've all learned it, man. You know,
This is a big, so one of the things that I really wanted to talk about with the show is how have you protected your passion? And what I realized though is like that's not a question I should ask everybody,
right.
because if it doesn't come up naturally, then it might be forced. But like I just want to point that out because this is the first conversation that I've had where we're touching on that subject, and I think it's a really important subject to talk about, to share with people, whether they work in the restaurant business or not. If they do, hopefully they'll get some of those gems. Maybe some new perspective, a paradigm shift. If they don't, maybe you can understand why it's so fucking hard and why so many people fail. Because if you don't protect your passion, you will burn out. And I think that those two things go hand in hand, right? Or if you burn out, you have no passion left. And there's when things get tough, there's a lot of little you know, devils on your shoulder that are easy to get into.
Absolutely.
That people then see that our industry is wrought with substance abuse, and which I guess, like for me, that's probably the only one that I don't necessarily think is like, I don't know, that controversial. Like when you want to talk about like sexual harassment, like, fuck that. Right. When you want to talk about like, you know, abusing employees, no way.
That's right.
But you know, so that's not even like I don't want to hear where you're coming from, and why you did that. That's just not a conversation I'm interested in having. But sometimes when people go through their struggles and they abuse themselves, that's different, you know. And I think that we need to have more compassion for that, you know. I mean, I've been sober 6 years. I stopped drinking because I stopped drinking, and I really only did drinking. Like I've never even, like literally never even did cocaine. And people that know me were like, fuck yeah, dude, that's good that you never did cocaine, dude. Like nobody wants to see you on cocaine, bro.
That's right.
You got way too much energy. But you know, I stopped drinking because it was like it was getting in the way. It was dissolving my passion.
Okay, love it. I love that you just said that, man. Dissolving your passion. There is so many things in our space, particularly with us in the level of energy that you need to sustain in this business, man. There's a ton of them, man. There's a ton that dissolves. And I tell you, Sammy, I've been married as long as I've been in the business. So my wife,
I love that.
So
30 years, right?
Yeah.
So cool.
My wife has been with me when I was 0, man. Okay, when I was coming up. Okay, and you know, she has been the balance for me, or the accountability. Meaning, like, yo, man, you can't. We don't do that. That's it. That's it. Whatever the industry, whatever, you bring your ass home. Okay, you can hang out. You know what I mean? And she wasn't, it wasn't about her bullying me. She understood some things. All right. She's not of the business or in the business. Okay. But she did understand things that, you know, I was always open to listening to. Okay. And look, I want to be clear about every word that I'm saying here is never meant to be judgmental because everybody has their own pathway. Everybody has to move through this world very differently.
Mhm.
Some of us go through trauma and we come out of it. Some of us go through trauma and we don't. Some of us take that trauma and say, you know what, this wasn't for me. And that's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
It's just that I decided that this is not for me. So I want to be clear about, because people will receive things. Oh, he's talking about nobody's passionate. Oh, I got it. No, hey, everybody got their own thing. Okay, I personally, it's in general. You find out where your W is. Where do you need to win? How do you need to get to the W? That is for me important. I got tons of colleagues, man, and friends. We came up in the kitchen together, man. They're no longer in the business.
Yeah, same.
And that's not about, oh man, you couldn't make it all. You're fucking nah, man. That's cool. You figured it out for yourself. And for me, you get a W, salute. You got a
Yeah,
W.
not everybody is gonna be consumed by food and
Yeah.
hospitality
Yeah.
in a way where like and I think like there's balance, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like I've found a healthy balance in my life.
Yeah.
And so, but if I consider myself consumed, that's like kind of in a fun way, not
Yeah.
like in a,
Yeah.
not like I'm in over. I remember when I was in my 20s, I really believed you hear chefs say like being a chef is a lifestyle. Like
Yes.
you're either dedicated to it or
Right.
you're not.
Right.
And I really took that to heart. And
Yeah.
that's what led me to fucking drinking too much
Sure.
and quitting. And then realizing like, no, at a certain point, you have to like you have to be the person that pulls yourself out. Like and that you're not going to live and die on the line, and you're not going to
Right.
like, it's not a lifestyle. I mean,
Right.
sure, like I love to go travel and eat food and hang
Yeah.
out with other chefs,
That's right.
right? But
Yep.
like also, dude, I love hanging out on my couch at home
Yes.
with my family.
Heck yeah.
And I like fucking going to concerts
Yes.
and like
Yes.
just, being lazy
Yes.
and watching
Yes.
TV and listening to new music.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
It's
right.
not all about, so like sometimes I talk to people and they'll be like, "Oh, have you been here? Have you been here? Have you been?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what the fuck that is. Like, I've never
Yes.
even heard of that." And they'll like kind of get like upset with me or like judgy with me. And I'll be like, "Listen, for starters, motherfucker, I guarantee I eat at more restaurants in more cities in more countries in the world than fucking you."
I
Right.
concur.
But I'm not doing that
Yeah.
as a chore.
Yes.
I'm not racing out to I just talked to one of my homies. I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna be in LA. Let's go." He goes, "Yo, we got to go to some new places." I'm like, "That's so fucking LA." No, I want to go to night market
That's
and
right.
get the Thai food that I'm craving. I want to go to Sonora Town
That's what I'm
and get
talking
my
about.
favorite tacos.
That's what I'm
I
talking
want to
about,
continue
dude.
to fucking support the people that I know are have been there for. It's not about like that I don't want what's new, but like, and that's an
Yeah.
issue that we face in the restaurant business today.
Yeah.
Is that you're competing with all of these new openings,
Yeah.
and everybody's now it's like, "Oh, I saw this on TikTok, so there's a line out the fucking door for a month,
Yeah.
and that place is bullshit and it sucks."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
still going to get those revenues,
Yeah.
and it's not good for that place because there's an influx of business they can't handle. They get a
Boom.
shitload of bad reviews on Yelp,
There you go.
and then it could be the reason why they go out of business because now people are like, "Oh, everybody that's gone there in the last month says this place fucking sucks."
There you go. There you go, dude. Like there's a I want to go back to what you said, man. And I think it comes maturity. Okay.
Mhm.
We all started off as young, powerful cooks, man. We wanted to be all that. We got our knives sharpened. We ready to go. We working 12, 14 hours a day. That's what it is.
Mhm.
That's what it means to be a chef. I got to get there. I got to do that work. Period in the story, whatever I got to go through. That's part of the pathway, right? And
Yeah.
then you move up into different spaces and now you become more professionally mature after going through that stuff, So I think a lot of us, man, particularly myself, yeah, I've reached a level of maturity where, yeah, I would love to go to the brand new spots. Don't get me wrong, man. I'm gonna use this term gourmand, not foodie. I mean, back in the day, that's what we called it. You're a
Yeah.
gourmand, you go out to dine, but dude, I was just in New York City with my kids.
Nice.
We went to go have pizza, man, at John's Pizzeria on Bleecker Street. Okay, we went to go have hot dogs. We went to uh, Russ and Daughters. You know, like
Ooh, nice.
not everything was
Nice, dude.
not everything was fine dining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, I appreciate these things. Don't get me wrong, but with my 21-year-old and my 17-year-old, I wanted them to have these iconic New York City eating experiences. I want them to know a reference point to what Russ and Daughters do. Like, you know,
That's cool that you took them to Russian Daughters.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but also, yeah, like street food is
Yeah.
I mean, it is to me the quintessential way. Going to the joints,
Yeah.
going to the local joints and
Yeah.
getting local street food
Yep.
is how you learn a culture.
Yep.
Face forward. As a
Yep.
chef, that's what I want. I'll do the rest. Like
Yeah.
if I want it to be taken to another level,
Yeah.
most oftentimes I'd rather do that myself.
Yeah.
So also like going and eating out and getting the straightforward version of it
Yes.
is almost like R&D, because it's like
Yes.
now I could authentically say that I know what that is.
Okay.
Not that I had another chef's version of it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me interject. That also applies to the consumer. It also applies to that because a lot of people don't know the classic dish or the classic preparation to a dish. They only know an interpretation. And I feel like that's almost misleading the consumer because now they say, oh, I had this, and that, but they don't know the classic version. They don't know what it tastes like. They had a riff and a flip and a reinterpretation. I'm like, yo, you don't know. You don't know what it should taste like. You have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, I was just in Chicago and, you know, we were serving a group of people. We did a dinner and, one of the participants, I'm gonna leave it at that, you know, did an interpretation of gumbo. Okay. And nothing wrong with that. Do your thing. But man, it was so far away from the classic. So now, who's ever in that room, who's never had a true gumbo, now they have something that's disjointed.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? And yeah, you can impart flavors and things in certain components of a dish, but I just feel like, you know, that's one thing I talk about a lot. And my daughter and son, they wanted to have a chopped cheese. Okay, we're going to go where chopped cheese is the origin.
Yeah.
To understand that. We're going to go have a bacon, egg, and cheese. We're going to go to an origin of what that means from a New York City perspective. So I really made sure, man, that they understood that. So now they have a true reference point. Outside of that, now they're not kind of like hoping that it tastes good or whatever. Oh, yeah, I know what it means. But yeah, I like what you just said, man, because, you know, man, that.
I'm all over the place though, man. I think I started out one place, but dude, on the subject of gumbo and I think traditional iconic food staples, let's stick with Southern.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
do that.
My spiel is like, you know, to me, I think that Southern food is the great identity of American cuisine at large.
I concur.
And within Southern food, you have the core of Southern food, which is soul food.
Absolutely. Right.
And soul food is the cuisine, historically, the cuisine of Black America.
Right.
And so we have to like acknowledge as Americans that a lot of our food ways in our beloved dishes and the things that make our food great are due to slavery. Right.
Cooked with black hands.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, and I spent a long time like getting comfortable with my studying and understanding of this before I got soul food tattooed on my knuckles, because I know that like that term, you know, that is a Black term that is coined in the 60s.
Right. Absolutely.
If you had soul, you were Black and vice versa.
Right.
And so like, I'm not trying to be that fucking goof out here that doesn't know what it means and getting it tattooed on my body. But the thing with the gumbo is like, or a purloo or a jambalaya, you can have your version of it, but you can't have a fucking interpretation of it.
Yeah,
that ain't right.
yeah. I
and I don't care who you are.
I think about it, man. I think about the idea. Okay, once again, okay, I'm gonna take it here, and I'll get back to the point. A cook comes into me and wants to apply for a job. And I look at their resume and I see that they've spent time in these wonderful places. Beautiful. Love that. All right. They have discipline. They've been in some environments where they learn. Okay. I'm going to do it. I want you to do a tasting for me. Okay. You know how to cook? You should be able to cook. All right. I want you to make gravy. Brown gravy. I don't want you to do nothing else. Don't do it. I don't want to know Can you make brown gravy from scratch? Can you do that? And I'm gonna tell you something, Sammy. Very disheartening to me, very almost disappointing. But I'm like, some folks don't even know how to do that, man. They've disconnected themselves from their own heritage. You know, as you know, like I'm pretty sure you grew up eating some type of gravy of some sort. Like,
Yeah.
why is that not something that you deem important? You know, and I'm not trying to be tricky or trying to, you know, flip you up or trying to go
Yeah,
outside
I think
of
it's brilliant.
yeah, like, yo, can you make gravy?
Yo, shout outs to fucking gravy.
Gravy is real, man. Like every culture has a gravy. Like, you know, I want a brown gravy.
Yeah.
You know? And
I mean, now are you looking for like a sauce espanol?
nope. I'm looking for a roux that has been cooked to a chestnut brown.
Nice.
Okay. And I would provide any of the stocks required, but
Okay,
I want
all right.
to understand that you know what it means to make gravy from scratch. Because how many motherfucking times, you know, every Thanksgiving, we always have this turkey 101 conversation, and folks still don't know how to make gravy correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, without it having lumps, without it tasting pasty, without it tasting like, you know, a bland blob of beige gook.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It is very difficult.
Right.
You know, I will say that that's a brilliant practical exam to give
Yeah.
a cook, because if you understand that, you probably have quite a expansive repertoire and skill set within the culinary arts. I mean, you know, guys like you and me, we went to the CIA.
Yes.
So we took a whole class on soups, stocks,
Yeah, stocks. Yes.
gravies,
Absolutely.
how to make a roux.
That's
But
right.
then did I ever get good at a roux until not at school? I didn't get good at making roux until I had a Creole woman cooking for me in LA.
That's right. That's right.
From New Orleans. And she was like, "Chef, do you want me to make a peanut roux or a milk chocolate roux?
Oh.
Or do you want a dark chocolate roux?" And she was baking that shit in the oven in like roasting rack trays. And like, I was like, damn, I don't know shit about roux.
Dude, you just, what a beautiful Jew. Just how she described the roux, not by color, by something else.
Yeah.
That to me,
By
that is what
aroma. Yeah. Shout outs to Dom. I know she's still cooking.
Man, that is
Love
so
that
beautiful,
for
man. Peanut color or chocolate color.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like having red Kool-Aid and grape and purple Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah. And dude, like my seafood gumbo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't typically put a roux in it.
Right.
And
based off of what? Why is that? What do you?
Because I'll put a whole bushel of okra in there and cook it down slow for a few hours.
Yeah.
And then filet powder, you know, the ground sassafras leaves.
Yeah.
And those two together have such a thickening, a plant-based thickening power that there doesn't need to be the wheat flour in there as well.
I agree.
And so what I realized though was that I'll also use a lobster stock.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm putting flavors in there, but tons of Holy Trinity and garlic.
Yeah.
And then, but what I realized was there was still a little bit of depth missing. And this is where I like teeter on this edge of like, I'm not trying to do an interpretation, more of a version,
right?
But how do I dig into my culinary arts training and understanding of technique? And to get the depth that I was missing, I ended up adding a pinsage step.
Yeah.
I'll take a couple spoonfuls of my jambalaya tomatoes,
right?
Pinsage it out hard to caramelize, and then deglaze with white wine, because white wine and seafood stock in general is great together, right?
Right.
And that brought the depth that it was missing, to where then people would say to me, "This is legit gumbo. I love your roux." And I'd be like, so the lesson that I learned was my gumbo didn't taste like it had a roux, and that's why it was lacking. Why I made my life so fucking hard and didn't just put a good peanut roux in there or something.
Right, right,
You know
right.
what I mean? I was like on a mission, but I like to acknowledge that I teetered that line of like fucking around a little bit too much and being like, well, like basically I took the white man out of the gumbo, okay? Because a roux is French, but the gumbo being thickened by the okra comes from West Africa.
That's
And
right.
the sassafras leaves comes from the Choctaw Native Americans.
That's right.
And both cultures have a term for a gumbo that's native to their dialect. And when you start to get into the pathways of where it came, and I got so heady that I forgot about the deliciousness of it.
Hey man,
It happens to all of us.
shout out to Pensée. How many people use that term or even know what it is?
Yeah.
Or even know what that means? Now, I'm not trying to be special. What I'm trying to say is, man, this art of cookery, the craft of cookery, that's what years of experience does for us.
Mhm.
We understand Pensée. Sammy, let people know what Pensée means.
So basically, it is when you're sweating your mirepoix for a stock. Traditionally, it would be to make a dark, like a brown veal stock.
Right.
But we've got some customers that don't understand that the place is closed. So
yeah.
Let's see if
they'll be all right. They look at the sign right there. I don't know if they
closed. Closed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It'll
be all right.
Yeah. Okay. This is not.
Hey, Sammy, I've been open for 14 years now, and my hours of operation have always and forever will be Tuesday through Saturday.
Heard, chef. For anybody who's coming here on a Sunday or a Monday and isn't looking to get a front row seat of the live taping of this episode, you're shit out of luck.
Amen to that.
So a pinçage or a pincé is when you traditionally would use tomato paste.
Yes, sir.
You would mount that into your mirepoix.
Yes, sir.
As you achieve a sweat.
That's right.
Potentially crank up the heat to caramelize, and you're rigorously stirring.
Yes, sir.
So that you're coating everything evenly with the tomato paste, and that those sugars start to caramelize and deepen, and you get a fond, right? You get like a crusty, sticky fond where it starts to burn on the bottom of the pan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't want to let it burn, but you want to let it caramelize as far as you can.
Right.
So at this point, you're standing over the pot and you're doing your thing. And as soon as it's got to the place where you don't want it to get any darker, you got to deglaze it with something that's got a acid in it, right? Traditionally a white wine or a red wine, but this is the quintessential step in making a dark veal stock.
Yes.
You can make a dark chicken stock by doing this. But then once you know that technique, you start doing things like, and by the way, people will put ketchup in their Thanksgiving gravy without realizing that they're making a pinçage.
Absolutely. That is beautifully articulated, Chef Sammy. Beautifully articulated. But Pensée, that is something, man, that I really appreciate. When I talk to people and my colleagues and we talk in shop, like, yo, man, like all those things are still real.
Mm-hmm.
That's all those things are important to craft. And like you said, the caramelization, that tomato product, whatever, it can be tomato paste, it can be fresh tomato, whatever, depending upon the finished product or the specific dish that you're doing, that right there adds the depth of flavor. And also, man, I mean, I don't know how many times I've made dishes and used tomato product and essentially it thickened my dish.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So thank you for sharing that. I wanted to make sure that the audience and everybody who's listening knows what that term means, because you don't hear it in normal conversations in kitchens anymore. So thank you for that.
Man, and just in general, I do love to try to inoculate that culture into my kitchens. Like the conversation of the techniques.
Yeah.
More importantly, why it's a mentality.
Yeah.
Understanding the fundamentals of building flavor.
Yeah.
It's not like a worship of the French system.
No.
There's other great global techniques to build flavor.
Absolutely.
And we use that in the conversation as well. But it's like, listen, I know we're at work, but this isn't normal work.
Right.
When you're working at a place in a kitchen where there's a chef,
right,
and there's a vision, and then there's intention, right?
Right.
So don't expect to have your typical bullshit chit chat. The fuck are you doing this weekend?
Right.
Yeah, you might have that conversation for an hour, but like if you're serious about this craft,
Right.
you either got your head down and you're focused,
Yes.
or you're asking who needs help,
Right.
or you're talking about a great meal that you had,
That's right. That's right.
right? Or
Mhm.
you're maybe like it's like take advantage of it,
Right.
you know. But I think we were taught that because we did that in school, right?
Yes,
It's like
absolutely.
when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
in the
yeah.
kitchen for 8 hours a day at school,
Right.
you live and breathe that culture, and then
Yes.
you can't get rid of it. But you realize that that's what makes you a good cook.
Right. Look, the visual of a chef before I got into it, coming out of the military as a military cook, was a white European man who was round with a toque on and flipped up whiskers. That's that.
A nice mustache.
Yeah, nice mustache. You know, and that wasn't. I'm not saying it from a negative perspective, but that was the visual. So I wanted to know what it meant for that individual in a kitchen with that tall hat. Like, man, I wanted to be that individual who was leading this environment. You know, so as I think about what you're saying, man, for me, it's I think about things in such a way where I want to make sure that in my kitchen in particular, or any kitchen that I'm working in or with others, there's a behavior in my mind that goes along with being a skilled cook
Mhm.
and a skilled chef, however you want to call it. Now, all of us who have spent enough time in this have went to go do stage or stagiaires
Mhm.
in Michelin starred environments. That's what it was. We were looked to do that, you know, to further our careers, i.e. working for free in these different environments. And for me as an individual young cook moving through these spaces, deciding that I was going to invest in my profession
Mhm.
with my money and my time, I wanted to understand and gather information about what made these places special. Why am I coming here to learn under these conditions? And what I gathered, Sammy, was that it was a behavior. Okay.
Mm.
That's all it was. It was a behavior and a culture. You know, they were no different than
Mhm.
any, frankly, military kitchen or any long-term restaurant that's been open for a long time. The way they do things, how they do things, how they move, how they handle product, how they clean the environment, how they greet guests. It's just a behavior that's so dialed in. That's what made them
Very disciplined.
right. That's all it is. So it's not about learning something extraordinary in terms of cookery.
Yeah.
It's about a behavior. When I come in the kitchen, this is the behavior of the culture I want to create so we can produce consistent food, consistent elevated food, or whatever food you're doing over a long period of time.
There takes a lot of moving parts for that to work.
Yeah.
And we are shifting the culture to make huge improvements
Yeah.
and strive forward in our industry.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is interesting, I was telling Cassidy, my wife, about
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
when we were talking about your time in the army
Yeah.
as a cook.
Yeah.
Let me step back real quick. Did you know that there's a show called Karem? I think it's called Karem on Apple TV.
Karem.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar, Sammy.
So Apple made, and the first season is out. Apple made like a historical, like a period piece. It's kind of, there's some truth to it, but it's mostly fictional.
Okay.
And it's about Karem, the French chef.
Sure.
right,
Absolutely. Yeah.
who was the, predecessor to Escoffier.
Right.
And he laid the groundwork during the Napoleonic era
Right.
of the brigade system,
That's right.
which is militant.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. And so our system that we learn from, if you go to a French-based culinary school,
Yes.
is the brigade system.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a rank. Everybody except for the chef, aka the general,
Right.
has a higher up.
Right.
And unless you're the lowest on the totem pole, you're not just receiving orders, but you're giving orders.
That's right.
And it's very matter of fact.
Yes.
There isn't emotion.
Right.
It is just do this.
Right.
Heard.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
It's a And that doesn't have to be ugly or abusive.
No, it
either.
does not.
It does work.
Yeah,
And
it
I
does
think
work.
that part of our system needs to stick around. But the CIA, where we went, they opened up in 1946. And I know you know this story,
Right.
but they opened up to provide job training for World War II veterans.
That is correct.
And so you have this heavily militant, rich system,
Right.
which they're teaching out of.
Right.
And now they're taking veterans, people that saw war, saw the front line, so to speak.
Right.
And so by the 50s and 60s, you know, when my pops, who's 72, was growing up and working in kitchens, it was a fucking wild place.
Yes.
That's old school.
Yeah.
That's like getting pots thrown at your head, getting slapped around.
Yep.
And, you know, probably because a good amount of like PTSD trickled into the system. And,
yeah, absolutely.
you know, I don't want to sound like a historian here. These are just thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't want to connect dots that don't connect.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. And because, and it's worth talking about because you were actually in the Army.
Yes.
So you know that you've lived the parallels.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say that for me, I'm going to say this, getting out of high school, you know, I did not want to go to college. I was not mature enough to, I believe I was going to be successful at it. So that's why I joined the military. Period in the story. That's it. It was a quick way to leave home. I was ready to go, this, that, and the other. You know, I was pretty athletic, so all that stuff didn't matter to me. My pops, he was a Vietnam vet, so, you know, easy peasy, no big deal. But I had success in it and experienced some conflicts, you know, moved through some challenges, you know. I still work on them today, you know. I've learned how to manage them and, you know, but I learned a great deal, man, about the, you know, in terms of like cooking in the military and what that activity meant for morale, okay? And I want to speak to that because when you're in combat situations, okay, and you got individuals away from home in far lands they've never been to, ordered to do whatever they need to do, it's the food that people find comfort in.
Wow.
Sammy, that's where I learned what hospitality in my mind meant outside of one going into a restaurant. The morale. When you're out in combat or out in a forward position or out there, man, doing what you're, you know, you pledge to do, or you, man, our mission as military cooks, okay, our mission was to make sure we provided a wholesome meal to the troops. And that didn't mean MREs either. That meant,
what does MRE stand for?
Meals ready to eat.
Okay.
So it's a little packet of things you rehydrate or whatever. But we had to cook food from our mission. You know, I want to be clear about something, you know, because a lot of people, a lot of times, I'm talking about all services. You know, like, you know, there's real cooking going on in all the services. There's real recipes that are being followed. There's wholesome meals that are prepared, okay? You know, so I want to dispel the myth a lot of times, and I'm pretty sure people understand it now, but dispel the myth that, you know, in the military, you know, it was all about grade B product and slop. No, SOS and all that kind of stuff. Now, SOS is good. I'll talk about that later. But
shit on a shingle?
Yes, sir. It's
Dude,
delicious.
Yeah, listen,
it
man,
is delicious.
I agree.
Okay. But yeah, you know, cooking in the military taught me a lot, you know, organization, discipline, but also what it means to take care of people. Particularly my immediate customer was troops. We had to make sure that they had a wholesome meal so that when they move into their, whatever they needed to do, man, they felt a level of confidence and they knew they can come back to something. Like, yo, man, I gotta, you know, when I was in the military, there wasn't no texting and that shit. We had to go to a phone center. We had to call out loved ones and talk to them and hear their voice. And we had to get in the line to do that. So, and after that, we had to go to the dining facility and eat. And we needed something good, man. So we would make, you know, meatloaf, fried chicken, stewed beef, homemade yeast rolls,
Mm.
proper mashed potatoes, wholesome food, man, that people really enjoy, and we had to be diverse in that, one of the things I like to share with people is where there's a master recipe guide that governs what military cooks make, and that goes across all the armed forces. And these recipes are tested and they scaled, and that's what we had to cook from. And just like we were saying, man, Scaffier, the cuisinier, and then everybody else falls under him. There was order, and so same thing in a military kitchen. There was what we call the food service sergeant. That was the executive chef, and then you had the line sergeants. Those are the sous chefs, and then you had the cooks. So for me, after I got out of the military, this transition into CIA was seamless. It was like, I came out of the military, man, with still that behavior. So my uniform at CIA was crispy, all right, iron. My shoes were shine. I didn't know anything different. So I moved into that space, man. It was.
How old were you when you went to the CIA?
Man, I was, let me see, I was 23.
Okay, so still pretty young,
Yes,
not the
yeah.
old student.
No.
Because when you go to CIA, like for
Yeah,
people that don't know, like there'll be like a guy in his 40s and then like a fucking lady that's 63.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
and that's,
exactly.
And you're just kind of like, that's weird.
Yep. I remember a lot of classmates.
You're like the guy that was like the fucking, you were probably the group leader.
Yeah, I was. I was, and I didn't choose that. I just, the way I behaved is, the chefs in the classrooms was like, hey, okay, you'll be the leader. They saw me visually and said, well, this guy, man. But I just enjoyed that transition. For me was seamless, and it felt good. It felt natural, and that's why I knew I was in the right pathway in terms of a career, man. It just felt right, and I already had that behavior, that discipline, that understanding of order, and what it means, So I had fun, and I want to say this: I was mentally and mature enough to succeed at CIA. Just want to speak to that. Based on what I said in the beginning, I wasn't going to be successful coming out of high school, going to college. I was not.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I was a fucking knucklehead. My first probably the whole time, but I think I definitely, so I did the 2 years and then ended up doing the bachelor's for another 2.
Yeah.
And by the time I left that campus, I think I see the value in a 4-year program for a youngster because it really takes time for you to be ready to go out in the world and be on your own. If you need that. I definitely did. And then man, we were all maniacs and you grow up together with those kids and like we said, maybe 10% of them are still cooking, but it doesn't matter, man. There's still that camaraderie and you want to know what they're doing. I love it when people are still working with food or beverage in their own way that they're able to apply that education. But some people are like swinging a hammer now and that they just switched crafts. Different trade.
Absolutely,
love it.
Man. Absolutely.
Whatever's gonna make you happy and help you support your family and have a good life at the end of the day. It's not about, oh, they ain't cooking anymore. Like I'm not gonna project I lucked out. I'm still paying student loans, so I feel like I lucked out. Like shit. If I wasn't still cooking, I'd be pretty upset. At that debt.
Dude, the return is real, right? Like you invest your time, your money, and you want to get a return. And let me ask you this, Sammy. I'm gonna ask you this question. How many people that you have conversation with about, is it a good investment to go to a culinary school, not only just CIA, but any culinary school or not? Is it a real investment or is it a waste of time? Have you ever had that conversation or even, I'm pretty sure you have, what I mean? But I'm just saying for me, that question is kind of, you can look at that in many different ways.
Well, I got advice about why I should go to school from my old man, my pops.
There you go. Yep.
My first chef that I ever worked for.
Yeah.
And it holds true 20 years later. 25 years later.
Yes.
My first day was 9/11.
Yeah.
He said, listen, if you want to do this, all your uncles, your grandfather, we're all chefs. We've all had restaurants, but it's a tough business. And maybe getting an education. None of us have had an education. And maybe doing that is what's going to give you the edge to succeed in a way that none of us have been able to.
That's what.
Now, you could take $100,000 from the bank
Yeah.
and just go open up your own restaurant.
Right.
You will fail.
Yeah.
And you might learn, you might walk away with a couple of lessons.
Yeah.
But if you take that money and you go to school with it, nobody can ever take that away from you.
Yeah.
And you're going to be pulling from those lessons for the rest of your life.
That's right.
And I mean, there's only more depth to that than what he could foresee.
Right.
That it also provided me with like a pathway toward relationships my whole life. But
right.
and a true deep understanding of what this is. I'd almost argue that if you think you want to be a chef, you should go to culinary school, because by the time you're done with it, you'll know if you still want to be a chef.
That's right.
And it's probably a cheaper fucking lesson in the long term to have spent that money going to that school and quickly realizing while you're still in your early 20s that this is not what I want
to do. Absolutely.
Rather than blowing your whole 30s, starting a family and being like, I don't want to do this anymore. I have kids, and trying to figure out how to transition your career path in one of the most crazy times of your life.
Absolutely.
Trying to pay a mortgage and support kids.
That's right. Trying to pay bills.
You can't just quit your fucking job. Now you're stuck.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's my take. And I think that
awesome.
Also, when you go to culinary school, you get I think it gives you a deeper respect for the concept of a stage, because for starters, if you're going to go to a culinary school, you should fucking really consider going to one of the best. And here's why. They're all expensive.
Yes.
Go to the CIA.
Right.
It's the best for a reason. There's 3 campuses now.
Right.
If you're trying to save money on your education, you're fucking up. Right. All culinary schools are expensive.
Yes.
Just get the best education you can.
That's right.
I do believe that's sage advice. That is not coming from a place of privilege.
Right.
I got student loans.
Yes.
25 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
The balance hasn't changed.
Yes.
Because all I've done is made minimum payments, and I've gotten a forbearance and a deferment every fucking chance I get. Right now, they're on forbearance.
That's right. That's right.
Anytime there's a fucking economic crisis, I will find a way to get a forbearance. I will die with those student loans, but I do not regret them.
Awesome, man.
That's just my perspective.
Yeah.
But what it does is it gives you an appreciation for a stage, because you go, hey, I went to the CIA, right? We went to the CIA, the best culinary school in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And we paid good money to be there.
Yeah.
You're telling me that I can go work for 3 weeks at one of the best kitchens in the world for free? Okay. So at this point, I'm like, how do I get there?
That's right.
How do I pull it off?
Exactly.
It's not about like, I'm going to work for a business and they're not going to pay me. That's not the culture.
It's not the culture.
Those places aren't normal.
Right.
Noma is not normal.
No, it is not. No, it is not. There is necessary things that you have to do in your career to propel yourself. That's it. There's things you have, this self-investment. Like, who else is going to invest in you but you?
Yeah. It's an internship.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be long-term. So if you worked for dog shit pay for 3 years at fucking, Blue Hill at Stone Barns, and then you got a gear to grind, it's like, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
You should have worked there for a year tops, gotten as much as you could, and got out before it burnt you out.
That's right. That's right.
And
that was always the goal.
You know what I mean? And if you're going to tour around Michelin restaurants, how long is a class at the CIA, chef? Do you remember?
Oh boy.
3 weeks.
3 week cycle. That's right. 3 weeks. That's
you got
right.
3 weeks to learn as much as you can about stock.
Right.
Then you're going to go on to knife cuts, right?
Knife cuts. Skills 1, skills 2.
If you're going to do a stage, do 3 week stages.
Absolutely.
Not 3 year stages.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That and Sammy, that's you nailed it, dude. That's what I always did. I measured my time that I'm investing in myself based off of a 3 week cycle. I'm in, I'm out, I let people know what's going on. I remember, I'm going to share this real quick. There was a time, when Iron Chef was underground, like only certain folk watched the show and shit. You know what I mean? It was like, oh shit, man, they got oh, that's so fun. But there was a guy from Alsace that battled Hideyuki Sakan. Okay. And I was watching the show one night, man. It was 12 o'clock at night. I was like, oh shit, man.
Yeah, why was it always on at midnight too?
I don't know. For us, of course.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
for us cooks, man, us pirates who getting off of work, man. We needed some entertainment, man. But I saw that show, man, and he was the chef of a family-owned inn called Le Surf in Alsace. And I was like perplexed that, you know, man, he took his style of food from his region, and Hideyuki Sakai was that dude. He was killing the game. He was the top Iron Chef in my mind.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
Fucking
you know,
satin jackets and mustaches, all that.
and he and the chef, man, he won the battle. And so at that moment, Sammy, at that moment, I told my wife, I'm going to do a stage there. At that moment.
Sick.
And I made it happen. I went over and got a stage in Marlenheim, which is right outside of Alsace. And I did a stage at Le Surf, which is a family-owned inn, a little small town, and that small town supported that place. I went there, got me a room, set up. I walked to work every day, and dude, I was in there cooking, man, having a good time. And they opened with open arms, man, very hospitable. Look, I was only black dude in the town, okay?
Mhm.
And you know, I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't, you know. Obviously, the word was out, I guess. but I used to go there, man, and he used to cook family meal for me. You know, I was in a little room. I wasn't eating shit. I was eating at the restaurant.
Mhm.
But I stayed there for 3 weeks, man, and that experience, man, was so meaningful. And it was 3 weeks, just like you said. It was 3 weeks, but I got so much out of the experience. So much.
I can't even imagine.
Dude,
What's like is there like a lesson that comes to mind that you might, or a technique or something that, like, you know, to this day is just part of your, you know, it'll come up?
A technique.
Or, you know, or a lesson or something you saw or something somebody said to you, like,
Okay,
like an impression.
Okay, just in general or just specific?
However you perceive that.
Oh boy. Oh man. Dude, a clean station.
Heard.
My station being clean and organized and by the numbers.
Mise en place.
Yes. That to me, and also to expound on the clean station also decides how well your preparations are going to be,
Mhm.
how well your dish is going to end up. Also, your appearance in the environment. Like, you know, I worked in a lot of kitchens personally where you didn't see the chefs and he was working or she was working.
Mhm.
Never saw their aprons jacked up or
Mhm.
their clothes dirty.
Mhm.
And also in the military, we were taught that. In the Army, we were taught that. You should not have a soiled uniform. If you're working in an organized manner and your station is clean and your mise en place is in place, then all that shouldn't be happening. You know, it doesn't go together. So that's the one thing I would say, man, that always sticks with me because it's just universal in any environment, particularly in the restaurant business or in the front of the house as well. Okay, super important. We haven't talked too much about front of the house, but that's an important piece. Like mise en place translates, presentation translates, organization, stations being in order to take care of people. It all translates, man. So that's the thing.
And I think that, like, the on the note of the front of the house, I think that for me, why the chef-driven, chef-led restaurant
Right.
is the special spot, that privately owned, you know,
Yes.
the like what we celebrate when we talk about the independent restaurant
Yes.
scene,
Yeah.
you know, and obviously mom and pop joints and stuff like that too. But
Yeah.
like, if you're going somewhere to dine and get
Yeah.
full service,
Yeah.
you need the terms and the techniques and the standards to be universal.
Yes.
So we're not talking about a cook, right? Because a back server has mise en place too.
Yes.
How they store their flatware,
Yes.
how they keep it organized during
right.
service.
That's right.
You know, when do you refresh ice in your station?
Right.
You know, all of these things, like the mental mise en place it takes to be an excellent server.
Absolutely.
Studying your menus,
Right.
tasting your wine with intention and purpose,
Right.
not just like, oh, sick, we get to drink wine right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's a level of professionalism that is all driven through the chef.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I love chefs for that,
Yeah.
and I know that it takes a great GM usually, but from
Yeah.
my experience, if the GM can't recognize that the chef
Right.
is the visionary
Right.
and is the standard setter,
Right.
there's going to be a problem.
Always is.
And it's a problem with me that I'll be like, it's almost like sometimes our education can backfire
Mhm.
because it'll be like, listen, I know that you have a ton of experience and you're probably way better at this than me.
Right.
But the problem is I had to study what 21 steps of classical service are. And so when I see the fucking flaws
Yeah.
in our service
Yeah.
and I critique them and I say
Right.
people are tipping 20% gratuity
Right.
on a $90 a person check average, they are paying for 21 steps of fucking service,
They are 100%
not
without a doubt.
12, because it's
Absolutely.
hard to train people.
Right.
Like, it's not what we do isn't supposed to be easy.
Right. 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 Well, I would say that I like to add to that yeah, once again, as I said about a behavior, that also translates in the dining room. And when people come into an environment and they've been told or briefed of a specific experience, yes, the expectations are there, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Like, and if you're in that environment, it's important that you have that behavior, okay? Because faking it is going to get you caught up. But particularly, frankly, a person like me, 21 steps of service, I see things. It's not about being picky. It's
It's
not
a
about
curse
right. It's not
that
about
you
being an
see, right?
asshole. It's not about being anything. We have to do the right thing. We have to have definitive, defined marching orders to craft the guest experience when they come in the door.
Mhm.
That's it.
And for like, I do just want to say I don't normally backpedal, but for anybody who's listening that might be like, oh man, he sounds like a fucking asshole to work for.
Mhm.
Like me, I'll say this, like, I I've never boasted or presented myself as
Right.
being an easy chef to work for
Right.
because my standards are insanely high.
Right.
However, I live and die by my standards. I
Yeah.
don't expect anything out of you that I wouldn't do myself.
Right.
Oftentimes, I'll be the one that unlocks the door and locks it back up. And I don't expect that from an employee,
Right.
but I will give my people 110%.
Yeah.
I'm more focused on my people than I am the customers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
I was just texting with a young cook and helping them learn how to cost out recipes in an Excel document and how to work with a formula
Right.
cell.
Right.
When you expect the world out of your people, you have to give them the world back.
Yes.
And that guy doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
Right.
Right. And I like
Right.
Dom doesn't work for me anymore. She's gone off and done her own thing. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're front of house or you're back of house.
Right.
Like, I'm definitely somebody who gives people like 6 chances. I wear
Right.
my heart on my sleeve. Cassidy will bust my ass about it. You just won't fire them. And I'll be like, people don't really, to me, I don't think people need to be fired. I think people will fire themselves
Yeah.
because they'll find out that they just don't fit in.
Yes. Right.
But
That's right.
jarring something like, sexual harassment or
Yeah.
like, dude, you're hammered
Right.
and you've done it 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like, if it's just silly shit or you got a youngster that's got a hot head and they don't know how to react, like
Yeah.
I do think people need chances.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
They need to get the lessons from
Yeah.
somewhere in life.
Yeah.
And so it's not me like going into my people or going into my place and coming down on my people with unrealistic expectations. It's just that, like, we have to remember that there's standards.
Yeah. Well, I would say I don't perceive, yeah, some folk will perceive someone who speaks the way we speak as assholes. But here's the thing. When you come into an organization, you have done some level of research about it. I don't consider people who I bring aboard to the restaurant as just employees. They're contributors to the organization.
Mhm.
Now, you've done some research, whether you've eaten here or you've done a star share, whatever the case may be. You've done some research. So you walking into something you already have some clarity about, okay? I believe that every employee wants to work in a top-notch spot or a spot that has standards.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to work in a raggedy ass place. They don't. So what does that mean though? Now, as you come into the environment, you are a contributor. You help to maintain and elevate those standards. It's not, obviously the chef or the owner, whomever, they set the pace, they set the standard, they set the marker. Here's our marching orders. Okay. As a contributor, what do? We want to get better every day. Reasonably better. Okay. I'm not talking about being crazy about it or, clapping my hands and shit and everybody snapping in position. No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about everybody who wants to work in good places. They all do. Me as an employee or working at places, I wanted to work at the good places. So I'm like, okay, cool. If I come in here, I got to understand what I'm getting into. Does it fit my needs? Does it fit my personality? And will I be a contributor? Can I help to elevate? I don't want to go there, man, and not, do my part. It's a waste of time for me.
Yeah, I think that it's universally true that
Yeah.
There's people that don't even realize it until you put them in that position,
Yeah.
and then they go, "Wow, like this is what it feels to like give a shit about my job and
Yes.
be happy to be here."
Exactly.
And there is a grace period you got to give people so that they can like adapt to the culture.
That's right.
And I do think that like for people like us, we strive to get better every day. But like, dude, look, we're talking about an inch.
Yeah.
We're like, it's not
Right.
quantifiable. It is
No.
not like when I say we're going to get better every day, I don't have a list.
No.
It's a concept, right?
It's time.
It's just that like we're striving toward this concept of excellence,
Right.
that we'll never achieve, because what is that?
Who knows?
In a cool way, though.
Yeah.
Not in a way that we got to beat ourselves up from,
No.
but like, and so what that does is it unlocks a pathway in your brain
Right.
to just be aware
Right.
of what you're doing and how you're contributing,
Right.
and maybe the person next to you, and that together we could figure out how to work out this kink, or this is an issue, or you're more mindful about.
So we're talking about, Sammy, and we're talking about shared vision, right? Everybody on the team.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, even from the dishwasher, even from the whatever position you're in that environment, we must have a shared vision. A shared vision meaning that now everybody's accountable for the standard. The chef don't have to be there for it to be the standard to be high. The general manager don't have to be there for the standard to be high. When the lead dishwasher is off on vacation and the support is there, you don't need to be there for it to be high. Everybody has to share in that vision. And I've never been a proponent of being aggressive to anybody, or that's not my nature anyway. But throwing pans and all that crap, I think it's foolishness. I think it's immaturity, and I think it's some folk learn that shit from what they saw or what they experienced and believe that to be the correct behavior to have in order to be great. No. I believe excellence does require discipline. It does require that we're consistent. It does require a bit of challenging, moving through challenges to get to certain points, but it also can be a joy. You know what I mean? Like, why can't we have both of those? Be excellent, have high standards, and have fun with it. You should be able to do that too. I do my best personally to bring people in and let them know what I'm about as a man first. Not as Chef Ricky, not as owner of Saltbox, but as a man. Here's what moves me. Can you connect with that? I feel like if I get that connection, then we can move on to some other things. All right. And you pour your heart out, which is typically not what doesn't happen. You pour your heart out, because that's what I do, man. I'm a real dude. Like, you want to come work with me? Here's who I am. I want you to know. And when I do that and I bring somebody on, and I'm all about giving chances, Sammy. I'm all about that. I am nowhere near perfect, but I believe that people deserve an opportunity, and I see something in them, and I'll move hardcore. I'll provide everything I need to best on the means that I have. But some people, man, just can't receive it.
Mhm.
You know, and you feel let down. You feel let down. You feel like, yo, man, like what happened? Like I thought we bonded here and there. And once again, I'm not making it seem like, all employees are bad. No, but we all know, and we're gonna be honest with each other. We all know, everybody who's been in this business long enough then had somebody, man, like, yo, man, how did this person turn out to be raggedy after all this time? What happened? You
Yeah.
know, and once again, like you said, people fire themselves, people terminate themselves, but I just
No, and I think that that's where it is it's like, we give our people so much.
yeah.
And it's like you just want your team is like a family. Like when
Mm.
it's clicked into place, if you've got 18 employees or
Yeah.
6 employees, whatever it is, it's different than like the grocery store that might have 6 or 18 employees. Like
Yeah.
those types of jobs are different.
Yeah.
And these are the ones where everybody really matters and everyone needs to click in and they
Yeah.
need to buy into the culture.
Right.
And it's like, and if you don't, it's like it should be okay to say, like, this just isn't the right place for you, dude.
Yeah. There
Like
you go.
employment law aside, like I'm not
Yes.
trying to take advantage of anybody or
Right.
fuck anybody over or
Right.
do anything shady.
Right.
But it's like from a cultural perspective, it's
Right.
clear
Yes.
that you do not fit in here.
Right.
You should just go work somewhere else.
Exactly.
Every possible job opportunity out there isn't for everybody.
No.
Like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
even within the restaurant business,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, listen, if you just want that corporate, regimented, soulless bullshit where mediocrity fucking reigns supreme,
Yeah.
go get a job at fucking TGI Fridays.
Hey.
And they will give you all the time off that you request and everything's
yeah.
corporate and
Yep.
it's a piece of paper and your boss is going to be a dick
Yeah.
and never show you his heart
Right.
or her heart.
Right. Right.
But they also won't ever expect much of you.
Nope.
And you can live that boring ass life.
And
But that's great, dude.
yeah.
Some people just want that.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
that can't be the person that's working for me.
No. For me, I mean, once again,
And I don't need people that want to do it for life either.
No.
We say in my place, listen, when you're here, you're helping me execute my dreams.
Right.
You're helping me make my dreams a reality. And I want to make
Right.
sure that I can help you
That's
make
right.
your dreams a reality outside of here.
That's
I
right.
will never turn my back on you.
Right.
I don't care. I don't hold grudges.
Yeah.
Reach out to me
Yeah.
if this doesn't work out. Or when it comes time for you to need to move on and you're the number one employee,
Yeah.
I will be the first to cheer you on.
Absolutely, man.
I'm not going to be mad at you because you left.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want you getting bored and fizzling out
Yeah.
because you're sick of doing the same thing with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
gotta like
yeah.
so it's like when you give this much understanding to employees, I think that your expectations should be heard as well.
Absolutely. Right. It's on both sides. What I'm not interested. I'm more interested in what it means for you to be healthy here. I mean, speak to that term healthy.
Mhm.
Healthy. I use that term a lot now because I think that's what people are looking for. Employees, they're looking for healthy environments.
Mhm.
What does that mean? That can mean a lot of things to different people, but a wholesome environment. I'm not talking from an unrealistic perspective. Okay, everybody wants that. I want to come into my own business and feel like things are healthy. That means employees are satisfied or more than satisfied. They're happy.
Mhm.
I'm fulfilling all their needs. I'm listening to them. So in turn, they reciprocate. When I'm not here, they make sure this business is healthy. When I'm not in the space, they make sure their colleagues that they're working beside, they're all healthy. Nothing's perfect. You know what a family is? A family is they love hard, but they also fight hard.
Mhm.
So that's a reality. But
Yeah,
we
I love
move
that.
but we move through it though because we're committed to each other as a group. So the healthy part, man, I like to speak to, making sure that whatever I do, even if I bring in another employee, like, what does it mean for you to come here and feel that you're going to be in a healthy situation? And you know what, Sammy? A lot of people can't even articulate that. That question never gets posed to them. All they know is, oh, where'd you work at? What'd you do? Okay, how much you get paid? That's it. I'm interested because what sustainability means to me in the restaurant business, in my business, is I got to make sure I got people that are connecting with me and they share in this vision. There's no sustainability if I don't have people who come in here and say, you know what, I'm going to decide that I'm going to spend whatever amount of time in here and do my part to be a contributor to make this a successful enterprise. That is what I'm looking for in an employee. And a lot of people will challenge me and say, man, what you expect? Ain't nobody gonna come in here and you paying this amount of money and you expect them to come in and share your vision. Why not? Why can't we? Why can't we expect? Look,
I love that. It's because they don't have the juice like that.
Yeah,
and they can't do it.
Restaurant folk don't make a lot of money. We all know that. We ain't killing it. We decided to do this, and that's what it's.
We're earning a living.
Yes, that's it. Ain't nobody making a ton of money, and we millionaires and none of that shit. We make enough to take care of ourselves, and hopefully we're doing enough to make sure our employees are being taken care of as well. And with that growth and everything else, But yeah, man, I think about that a lot.
Since this episode ran 2.5 hours, we've decided to split it up. Join us next week for part 2, where Ricky and I finish our conversation on the culture of the restaurant industry and dig into hip hop for probably a half hour, followed, of course, by the Flavorful 5 and a delicious cooking segment where Ricky shares with us that one dish that satisfies his soul like nothing else. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. As you know, Repertoire is part of Heritage Radio Network, where we're on a mission to build a more sustainable and equitable food future, and your engagement is what keeps the lights on. So if you dug today's episode, please hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. The Good Food Movement is all about community, and together we can make a meaningful impact.